Alright. Still didn't fix the bit boss, but did some other things. So, still trying to get in the swing of being the streamer. As Rifkin's computer is still on the fritz, it looks like, so. More solo casting, yay! In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio. Oh, jeez. Almost broke. In the top left is the blue Terran. He is aLive. Now, Odyssey, I think we might have seen once in the Elima League. Again, Sequencer and Blood Boil being the maps that weren't played at all in the Elima League are the ones we definitely haven't seen. Well, I guess we saw Sequencer last series, of course, but I don't remember if we saw Odyssey in the Elima League. We must have at least once. We certainly saw it in the Team Liquid map contest. It's okay. The third base is a little unique. Oh yeah, we saw it in the Elima League for sure. I remember the TVTs. In fact, we already saw it today, didn't we? With Keen pushing in on... No, that was the other map. Yeah, that was the other map, never mind. But we definitely saw it in the Elima League. I remember the third base being taken. Because I was going to say, the third base can be a little bit suspicious for all the races. Like, which one do you really want to take? There's this one down here, which has rocks kind of blocking, choking it out, and it's a little bit farther away. And only has one gas, so I wouldn't say that's really a third. Oh no, it does have two gases. This one is such a weird position. It's like on the ramp. Anyways, it's still like kind of a far away distance through a tighter choke until you break down those rocks. Then this one, which is a little bit more like a standard path to it, and that's most of the one that we've been seeing people take as a third base. But we'll see. As the ladder map pool is only about 2 weeks old at this point. Week and a half? 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks old. When did I go to Austin? Guys, I'm freaking out here. Yeah, 2 weeks old. Then it hasn't really been fleshed out entirely. As I was talking about in the last series, in fact, a lot of pro gamers are still going to be choosing the older maps just because that's the one they're going to be used to. So we're going to be maybe seeing some differences come, 1 or 2 months from now. As we did in the last ladder map pool. I mean, really, when you think about the way that Palladino played out until the very end, it was never chosen, and then it went to being somewhat chosen, depending on what race you were, and then it ended up being chosen a good amount of time for something that is so just short rush distance. But enough about the maps. Thank you to Nathanius himself for the 35-month resub. What was the sound? Rifkin asked, as his kneecaps bent forward, as his legs snapped off. I'm not sure, Nathanius calmly stated as he continued to careen through skies towards Lipovka. Zelda exclaimed from the back seat, "We're blasting off again!" I don't know you. I don't get your memes and your moo-moos. Rifkin's not here. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Roachborn on the way, not too unexpected from the likes of Nerchio. You have a little hop-up spot for Reapers over here. Lings now again getting past. 2 more Lings trying to see what's going on. They see a lot of Hellions. A lot of Terrans have been opening up with Hellions just as, common factory openers. But the question is, are they going for the Hellbats? Are they going for a drop? Like, what's happening after that? Looks like the Hellion drop has really come back into play in a big way in the last month or two. I'm guessing the Ling would have loved to have scouted the medevac on his way out. Sees no Hellions, but I think the Overlord saw the medevac, so yeah. Queen's going to the main base, spreading creep. Roach is already there as well. I think he knows exactly what's going on. The nice thing about a Hellion drop, though, is that you don't necessarily have to commit to it. Medevac gives a lot of mobility. And eventually might find something to do. But if you just want to transition off of it, get a third base, double engineering bay, which is what aLive is doing, then more power to you. Nerchio did scout that third CC with that single lone Ling as well. So he knows this won't be too committed. This is on the European server, as that's the default for the Corsair Cup, so aLive is playing at a bit of a disadvantage, but any Korean that you see... Armani was a bit of a outlier, I suppose. He doesn't play in too many European Cups, but most of the Koreans that you see play in European Cups have been playing in the European Cups for like a year at this point, maybe even longer. Something about Legacy of the Void, I don't know, or maybe it was the, you know, lack of teams to join, I have no idea, but you saw a lot of the initially, like, lower tier Koreans, you know, guys we weren't paying so much attention to, as much as we were paying attention to Byun, of course, playing them, and then at this point in time, like, they've actually become some of the best Koreans in the world. aLive in particular is who I'm really talking about, but even Keen having a decent showing at the GSL, getting into the GSL, and of course still playing in a lot of these online tournaments. Tails, Billowy, other names I forget right now, but the point is, it's what happens. So this is interesting. Nerchio takes this base, whereas aLive takes this one. I feel like if I was playing, I would feel like this is safer, but that doesn't mean that it's right. You know, I'm not the greatest player ever. So I can't say much what benefits each side, unless I look at it a little bit more. We had Roaches kind of poke in, see what they could do. Not very much is the answer. Hive's already on the way. 1-1 is pretty well paired up with aLive's. And aLive is getting tanks. I think he knows how Nerchio plays. Again, some of these guys who play on the European server all the time at this point know the foreigners, especially a very, very good foreigner like Nerchio and how they play. And Nerchio, I would say at this point in time, 100% Roach play. I think that's not too bold of a thing to say. If it's not 100%, then it's like 95%. Okay, like the amount of time I see this guy play Mutilating Bling, or like double upgraded Ling and Fester into Ultras in the past 4 months has got to be really, really low. But here come the reinforcements. So the initial Roach attack was not scary at all. Here right now it might be. Combat Shields did finish, but aLive isn't moving. He didn't move out of the Corrosive Biles, but he still takes care of the Lings, the Roaches, and the Routers have to skedaddle, or else they would die very quickly after that. I guess aLive just stayed there on purpose. The damage output was good enough to take the heat from the Corrosive Biles, and luckily for him, it wasn't a lot of Corrosive Biles. So he just powered through that, and Nerchio miscalculating a little bit, maybe. You know, I don't usually get to say that too often. But sometimes he does. Certainly, I think Nerchio has a weakness around his Hive play, which is that sometimes he does take an engagement too soon that doesn't go in his way, like against tanks or against defensive tanks or against an entrenched Terran offensive position that he didn't have to take a fight in, and then that's when he kind of like snowballs into a defeat because his ultras don't come out in time. I'd say that's a lot of the time why I see Nerchio lose, but then otherwise he's usually pretty spot on and wins a lot of his games. But aLive didn't lose tanks in that engagement either. You know, he could have saved them too if he had to, if they're being targeted, because they weren't sieged up. So now 4 tanks. They don't have any upgrades, but they can entrench themselves somewhere good. Unfortunately on Odyssey, I don't see many, like, really great points to do that. In fact, this is, like, a really wide open spot, but Nerchio just doesn't have a very convincing army. He doesn't have a ton of Ravagers, and he doesn't have a very big army supply over aLive. In fact, they're pretty even as he gets these Ultras here. He's only going to be on +2 armor as well, but Kindness Splitting is already on the way, so that will not be an anti-timing at all here. As aLive is still stalled out in the middle of the map. This is exactly what Nerchio should just let happen. This is kind of like, again, those points I was talking about. Sometimes Nerchio will move into this thinking that he has enough of an army without Ultras, and then he'll lose the army. And then that's, you know, that's the mistake. But I think just letting aLive stay here while you get up to 6 Ultras with Kindness Plating and 2-1 upgrades. Yeah, and I don't see many other points where the tanks are going to be so great. Obviously up against a ramp is pretty good. I think Nerchio's playing this pretty smart. Oh, it looks like a bit of a counter setup. Can't tell if it's a counter or a surround. Both options would be pretty good. Okay, looks like a counter, but there's already a lot of reinforcements from aLive. aLive didn't make a mistake of rallying, which a lot of Terrans will, especially when they think they have a really decent position. Oh, that Fungal Corrosive Bile was pretty good. aLive not paying attention there, for sure, did cost him a lot of his units. He still would have had to bring back, I think, a portion of his army just to help out, but now he has to bring it all back. 2 tanks are caught off guard, Ultras are on the way. aLive still holding strong at about an even army supply, but he is forced entirely back home. I don't know what, this is the greatest wall of supply depots I've ever seen. I just gotta throw that out there. That's why he took this base. This is amazing. But, well, this is going to be hard to go down to defend against. He's actually going down this ramp. And then if he could ever get back up this ramp and if the ultras funnel through this choke, that's when aLive can really start to target fire them. But the ultras are left alone anyway, so target fire isn't really a necessity. Just target fire the weak ones. But the point is there's no lings or fungals or ravagers or roaches to help these ultras. And they just go into a slaughter fest. I don't know why Nerchio decided to let that happen. He was so focused on killing the third base, I guess. SCVs were pulled, but it seems to the mineral lines, so unfortunately they run back home a little too soon. So more SCVs are going to go down, but I can't believe Nerchio just took that fight with those ultras. He still has 4 bases with 69 drones, so he's remaking them pretty quickly here. But damn, even 6 ultras, if they don't have any type of protection, are going to go down to bio and tanks. There's some tanks in there too that are doing a lot of damage, but geez. That's, I don't know, I feel like he maybe just could have left and then saved the ultras and still gotten the same SCV damage done, but I don't think it's going to matter. aLive makes another, I guess, a similar crucial mistake, just lets them be surrounded. He was already on 3 bases, he was already all in, he had to do something, of course, but getting surrounded, that was never going to be a chance for his army. Never ever. Hello?
Why does Rifkin's mic sound different?
Sounds the same to me.
Oh, well, you know, stream's gonna...
I know.
Stream's gonna be stream. What's up? I'm back, baby!
Hi.
Hello. So where are we at? What have I missed?
Nerchio's up 1-0 against aLive. And now we're into the second map.
Okay, cool. One sec, guys. So I've swapped back to my old desktop for the time being. Truth be told, this thing is probably good enough to stream, but we'll just leave it with Zombie Grub since swapping again and then having it potentially go down is just stupid. I'll just have to be co-caster here for the rest of the... Caster 2.
Caster 2. Fighting mongooses. Okay, so... do a recap once we get in a game, but we're going to Abyssal. It was aLive's map choice, and it's still a best of 3. We had Keen go down to Ziggy. A name I think we've seen before, but a little
like
odd.
one of your cats?
It was one of my cats.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean... Oh, shit.
No, I think we said that we've seen that name before. Maybe even cast him once, because I remember you bringing that up. But it's shocking to see him 2-1 Keen, and is now going to face Neeb in the other semifinals, which has been put on hold. So there you go, you're updated, and now we're in a second game on Abyssal Reef. In the bottom right is the blue Zerg. He is Nerchio.
And his opponent top left going to be none other than aLive.
Well, thank you to Duddles for the 300 bits, as the bit boss is working on my end anyways. So, Sab's the boss. Acha! Acha! What you missed, and what anyone, I guess, who's joining now missed on the, what was it? Odyssey was the map, I think? Yeah, Odyssey. Was a pretty nice long macro game. Unfortunately, I think aLive, like... Well, he was 3 base all-inning, really. You know, he didn't go for a 4th base against Nerchio, who was already on his way to Ultras. And he did find himself with a couple of good fights under his belt, but then just got swamped by Ultras. But I was looking at Odyssey and, like, the maps, and I would say to go back and just at least look at aLive's amazing wall on his 3rd, which I did not expect at all. I don't remember, like, you played on Odyssey, right?
Yeah, that's the one with the water and the pools we were complaining about.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, we've seen it for sure, but I don't know if you played on it. Well, I don't know which base you like to take, but aLive was, like, in the top left, and he took the south one, which I don't know which one you're supposed to take, to be honest. That's still kind of up in the air for me. But then he just built an entire wall, like, around his command site. I've never seen anything like it. Like a U-shaped wall around his command site.
Oh, wait, the one that goes down... Are you talking about the one that goes down the ramp?
Yeah, yeah, with the choke. Yeah, like, there's no choke on the 3rd base, right? So there's no, like, easy place to put your supply depots. So instead of building, like, a bunker with supply depots around it...
He built the Great Wall of China.
He just built a Great Wall of China, exactly. And it was pretty funny. It didn't really help, of course. Still lost the game. But I think he had a bit of I don't know if there was like really an option for him to take a good engagement. Odyssey seems like a very difficult map to actually get a good tank position on because it's such a wide open middle. But Abyssal is, you know, as usual, it's going to be chosen by a lot of these pro gamers if they have an option of it, you know? Like, they're going to go back to the older maps, the ones that they know the best, if they do end up losing. I don't think you do Akujua for the 2-month resub. Oh, no. Ling's attack in this command center is one thing when the Reaper has to come back home, but it's more about the Reaper coming back home to deal with this, because Nerchio did go for an early Roach Warren, and is looking to close out game number 2 really quickly. Oh, maybe not super quickly. I guess he still is droning after all, but he might do a lot of damage.
By the way, it's been so long since we've used this PC, I have to re-authenticate everything, so I don't actually have Twitch alerts and stuff at the moment. Just FYI.
Okay. Oh, this is kind of unfortunate. That's so funny. If he had gone to the left instead of the right, he would have at least seen the Ravagers with, you know, a couple of seconds of notice. Now he's getting to the main base as the Ravagers attack his natural, and he has gone for a Hellion opener again.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. That's really gonna hurt. The auto attacks of the Ravagers alone are gonna be pretty hard to deal with. The Hellions just don't have the damage to push them back.
No, they do not. Instant reaction once he saw the Ravagers, but, you know, he hasn't even started a Cyclone. His reactor goes down, so only one Cyclone
even
if it started.
What's really nice for Nerchio is, like, if the Ravagers get anywhere close to dead, all he's got to do is, like, find an extra ring and pick it up, but we get to go.
Sonic jokes, I get it. I get it. This is already doing quite a bit of damage. The Hellions might even survive from it, but it doesn't matter very much. Just cheating out. Like, they're really... You're gonna lose so many SCPs, it's not worth it.
This guy came back for a really intense series. Back and
Nice.
forth, best of 3.
Yeah. That's it for our Korean players.
That is. What I'm really hoping to see, though, is going to be what that finals match potentially looks like. With Neeb versus Nerchio, if that ends up being the case, is going to be super dope.
I think it will. But that is our other semifinal, Neeb versus Ziggy. So we'll get into that after this commercial break. Oh, and thank you to Riyamar for being the Bit Boss.